Hello, I'm Simon Benham-Clarke, one of the researchers at the University of Exeter who conducted the evidence review that informed the Education Endowment Foundation's A School's Guide to Implementation Guidance report. In this video, I'm going to talk about implementation strategies to provide you with a general overview of their purpose and use. I will also explain where the guidance report's long list of strategies has come from, and examples of what research says about selecting groups of strategies and adapting them to enhance implementation for a particular need. So what are implementation strategies? They are the actions taken to support the implementation of evidence-based interventions. Implementation strategies support those involved in implementation and address barriers to implementation. So, while evidence-based interventions are what is being implemented, implementation strategies are the actions we take to help get evidence-based interventions into practice in school settings. In the EEF Guidance Report, Appendix 1, there are 33 strategies listed. Some examples of strategies are: conduct local needs assessment. This involves the collection and analysis of data to help understand the needs of staff and others in the school community, what may be wrong with current practice, and to begin to consider what would be an appropriate approach to use. Another strategy is develop a detailed implementation plan. The plan should provide a range of key details including the needs that a new approach is responding to, which will also indicate outcomes to measure. It should also provide detail about the approach, including what the core components are that you would expect to see if it was being implemented well. As there are more than 30 individual strategies, it is understandably helpful to categorize them into groups of strategies that might be selected at similar times in the implementation process, or have a similar purpose. There are a couple of examples of this. One is from the EEF Guidance Report that indicates 8 overarching strategies that map onto different phases of implementation. Another similar set of overarching strategies is from our evidence review, where we organise each of the individual strategies under 8 overarching strategies. The 8 overarching strategies are similar and organised by implementation phase, with assess and address needs and context, or assess needs and setting, expected in the explore phase, whereas monitor and respond to data, or monitor and improve, is expected in the deliver phase. It is best to think about these overarching strategies and particularly the individual strategies holding relevance over time. The strategies might start to be used as a particular phase, but it will still be relevant to support implementers and revisit implementation plan when aiming to sustain an approach over time. We would not expect all 30+ individual strategies to happen, but it would be hard to imagine effective implementation without attention to the 8 overarching strategies, still recognising that some will be more amplified than others because of the approach or needs of the school. We must consider the more specific strategies and which will help support the implementation of a particular approach in a specific school setting. I will now talk a little bit about where these strategies have come from and how to think about selecting them for use. They were developed by a team of academics who adapted implementation strategies from healthcare to educational settings. Our review of these strategies and analysis of how the context and behaviours relate to the strategy led to the 33 strategies listed in the guidance report. We can select strategies based on when they might be used, as already mentioned and indicated in the guidance report. For example, the strategy conduct local consensus discussions is where the school community are involved in the discussions about the need for a new approach and the appropriateness of the approach. This is employed in the explore and prepare stages to address whether the identified problem or need is important and whether the new practices to address the identified problem or need are appropriate. But this could also be used later to assess whether the need still exists and how well the approach has addressed the need to date. Another example would be the scale-up implementation strategy, which would typically be employed in later phases to gradually expand the reach of an approach after completing small pilots or demonstration projects. This is an example of a strategy that might not be relevant if a whole school approach is used. Often multiple individual strategies are used together to support implementation. Therefore, we don't use all of them or just one at a time. Two examples from research showing groups of strategies being used are a study exploring implementation of a physical activity policy assessed implementation strategies which had been shown to improve schools' compliance. Two strategies were found to become critical to implementation. 1. Identify, prepare and use champions. 2. Mandating the change. In a study about vegetable and fruit breaks in Australian schools and the characteristics and implementation strategies associated with their adoption, involving students, family members and wider members of the school community, and using high-quality professional development strategies, were the only implementation strategies independently associated with the recommended vegetable and fruit break adoption. There are different ways of doing individual strategies, or they might be more relevant in different situations. For example, in the identifying, preparing and using champion strategy. The champion role can be both logistical in terms of sharing knowledge about the intervention and/or focused on engaging others in implementing the intervention. As such, champions may play a continued role rather than only be key in the early stages of implementation. An example of strategy being relevant in different situations is for remind school personnel. These reminders can come in many forms and for different purposes. For example, direct communication to individuals, like emails to update on implementation progress, or visual cues in classrooms or around the school to support training on the new approach, and leaders visiting classrooms to observe the new approach, shows teachers and pupils what is expected. The implementation strategy tailor strategies is a reminder that careful selection of strategies to fit the needs of the school, staff and pupils is important. Schools should identify barriers and facilitators to implementation and therefore might need to tailor strategies. To find out more, including a further explanation of each implementation strategy and an interactive tool used to filter the strategies, see our website. You can also get in touch with us there. We hope this video has helped you to improve your understanding of implementation strategies, their purpose and use. Thank you for watching and listening.